Hey everyone, this is the Mayor, and welcome back to my video tutorial series on Throwback by TryHackMe. In this video, we're going to cover tasks 17, 18, 19, and 20 because they all pertain to continued exploitation of a target on the Throwback network. And first and foremost, we're going to give just another crash course on kind of what to expect in the user interface. So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit and showed you ways that we can quickly grab access to machines. So we've seen the listener, stager, and agents modules. Links over here. On the next module or link on the sidebar, we get all of the modules that are included in Starkiller and Empire. And boy, there's a lot of them. If you look here, there's 304. And nobody is going to expect you to know what they all are. There's some things in here that are really important to use, like Mimikatz, hash dump, etc. Other ones, like being rickrolled, not so necessary. And we can quickly just kind of show you some of the ways that we can grab modules. So if we come back to one of our agents and we click the please enter a module name, you can skip through or scroll through all of these. Now, once you get to the bottom, it continues to load. So I'm going to scroll really, really quick. And if we get down to the way end, you'll see these troll exploits. And so like here's a PowerShell troll exploit, PowerShell troll exploit Rick. So I'm just going to go ahead and click one just to see what happens because I do have remote desktop open and I've not actually run one of these before. But while we continue talking, we have a lot of different options. Again, Empire is very, very powerful. And we can do all kinds of things. We can send modules and exploits at it. One of the really neat things that we have, or items that we have, is this credentials tab, which if we find credentials or hashes along the way that we dump from our remote machine, we can gain access to those credentials and they'll store them here, whether it be in hash form or password form. And this is going to be really important later on in the lab and through the network, so keep that in mind. We're going to move to task 18 now, which is the seatbelt task. And seatbelt is a Windows enumeration tool, and it really digs deep inside a Windows environment. So we need to go back to our agent, and we need to click on our Windows machine that we have. And in this case, we have Peters J. And I don't know if our Rickroll worked or not, but we're just going to go ahead and search for seatbelt. And you guys go ahead and execute this. It does take a few seconds. So once you pick seatbelt, you're going to go ahead and hit submit. And it's going to give you a message that it's just started. So you see I've already ran it. So up here, you're going to see when you run any command, you're going to get some sort of initial feedback. So function invoke seatbelt, something about commandlet binding, etc. This is all expected. And sometimes it'll appear like it's hanging. That's just because it's working on the remote machine, and it does take some time. Once it's done, you'll see the feedback come back. And for this challenge, if you see in the background, we have access to the 219 machine. This is our production machine. So if you're following along with me through the tasks, you'll need to be on this machine to continue going forward. So if you're not on 219 yet, that's okay. Go back through, find your notes that you have for the username and password when you ran the responder exploit and you cracked the NTLM hash version 2. You should have a username and password. Go ahead and run X3RDP or whatever remote desktop tool you use and access that machine. And once you're here, go ahead and hit play again, and then we can continue moving forward. So we're going to run seatbelt against that machine. And we went ahead in the last lesson and showed you how to create the stager and the listener to be able to do this. If you need to brush up, go ahead and check out the previous video on how to create that listener stager and gain access with that agent. For us, we already have that agent, so we'll go ahead and click it. And then we're going to come up here to Throwback Prod. And again, search for seatbelt. You guys go ahead and click it and scroll down and hit submit, and that's going to go ahead and fire it off. So I've saved us some time to kind of quickly show you those results, and we're looking for something in particular with this, with the enumeration on this machine. So oftentimes credentials are left behind from auto login or credential stores, and in this case, the way we're going to escalate our privileges on the 219 machine is through cred-enum or credential enumeration, and we see here that we have local admin pass, so our target's the local admin, and the username is admin-petersj. and our credential type is a domain password, and we have enterprise. We don't really have much else other than that. If you do some research on credentials manager, which this is enumerating, you'll understand and know that you can use the run as command with saved creds along with the user to execute commands as the user in question. So if we come over here and we get our command prompt and go ahead and hit enter. So if you follow along, if we run as and then save cred, and then our user : is admin Peters J, and then profile, and then the name of the program we want to run. So in this case, let's go ahead and open a command prompt, and it should give us an elevated command prompt, and you'll see that it opens up. And up here, you'll see that we have admin Peters J. So if we run who am I, you'll see that we are admin Peters J. So we see that we've escalated. If we do who am I priv, you'll see that we have a bit more. Net user, excuse me, is what I'm looking for. Admin Peters J. And if we do net admin, we'll see that we're a local administrator on the machine. This is great news for us, right? Additionally, if you were following along the previous videos, we also have the Mayor launcher on our desktop. So what we can do here is go ahead and grab access with Starkiller to that user. So if we come up here to stagers, we'll see that it's here already. And now we're just going to come over here to agents and wait. So if we CD to that desktop, so CD desktop, or to CD to users, excuse me. And then it's going to be Peters J. So we'll CD, gosh, I'm losing my mind today. CD users, Peters J. And then to his desktop, sorry. And then if we dir, we'll see that launcher is there. So let's go ahead and run launcher and see what happens. So it's going to say that it is not found for some reason. That's okay. Not sure why that's happening, but that's okay. So if we wanted to, we need to use Mayor. So let's go ahead and use Mayor. I am a cluster today, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's go ahead and click Mayor, and that's going to go ahead and execute it. You also see that we lose our shell. That's all right. We'll just go ahead and run our command again. Now if we come over here to Starkiller and we click back, you'll see that we have the admin Peters J user. So now we have persistent access to an administrative user on the machine. Moving into task 19, this is kind of a crash course in Mimikatz, dumping hashes, and different things you can use with Mimikatz. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys read that on your own. If you want to pause the video now, just to get an idea of what Mimikatz can do, that would be helpful. It's really a useful tool for dumping passwords on Windows. And it pays its dividends for being able to gain information about user credentials, hashes, tokens, etc. So in our case, we can actually use Mimikatz to dump credentials and dump password hashes on the target or the remote machine through Starkiller. So this is covered in task 20, I believe. I'm going to scroll up. Yep, task 20. So if we come over here and we click our Peters J, admin Peters J, and if we look for Mimikatz, you'll see that we get several different options here. And we can do a lot of different things here. We could LSA dump and try that. Additionally, what we want here right now is Mimikatz command. And what we can do is first check to make sure that we have privileges to dump credentials on the machine. And we're going to do that with privilege. Sorry, I can't spell tonight. Privilege debug. And this is going to run, and we should see that command come down here really quick. And we should get, once this is finished, that code 20 that we want to see, that privilege 20 OK. So it's just doing its thing. It should hopefully come back here with a response or an answer for us here momentarily. Hope so anyway. Okay, so we see the job has started now. And if you're curious what this looks like on the back end, I have Empire running over here. So you'll see this was our call-in from agent number 2 or our admin Peters J, and then it sent the agent over. So this was it requesting and then us saying that's okay. Here we tasked the agent with this job, and it was task number 1. So hopefully this has been finished when we get back, and you do see that it is in fact finished. So if we scroll down, we do get the privilege 20 OK. This is good news when it comes to Mimikatz. This is going to give us the privileges we need. So let's go ahead and go back to Mimikatz again. And we're going to click command one more time. And this time we're going to use a command called sekurlsa. So sekurlsa. 2 colons is required, so make sure you're using 2 colons. And then in this case, we want to look for logon passwords. And we want to try to dump the logon passwords that are available on the machine. So we'll go ahead and hit submit. And this is going to go out and it's going to try to dump all of that password information. So again, this could take a minute. If you want to stick with me, you can. If you want to go ahead and skip forward, you can do that as well. And once it's finished, we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, and as you can see, we now have some responses back. So we see that our function came through, and we get the response back from Mimikatz telling us that we got something we can use. So if we scroll down, we'll see that we have username and authentications. We get our NTLM and SHA-1 hash. The NTLM could be useful if we want to try to pass the hash. One of those common things that happens on network machines is oftentimes network and systems administrators, help desk technicians, etc., will oftentimes reuse the same username and password because they're on a domain across several machines. So it could be common to see that this password hash may apply to another user somewhere along the way, and you could try to pass that around. If we scroll down some more, we should hopefully start seeing some information. Here we see Peter's J and his NTLM hash as well. If you want to go ahead and grab that, we should already have his password. And keep going. We should continue to find some stuff. We see the administrator's hash is here. And right here, we get a password, actually. We get a login password for the admin Peter's J user. So if we wanted to try to log in with like X3 RDP, attempt a SMB client or like a PS exec login, we might be able to use this password to initiate that. So if we continue scrolling down, we can see if there's any other users on the domain or on the machine that have hashes or passwords. And it doesn't look like there's anything else for now. So let's go ahead and come over to our credentials tab. And you'll see that we actually dumped a lot of credentials. So let's go back really quick because we see Blair as well. And this is interesting because this is showing us that it's not just dumping local hashes, it's dumping domain hashes. So let's go ahead and open this back up and see if we can find Blair. And that's something to keep in mind, that it's not necessarily only going to be your local users. It could very well be domain users or any hashes saved on the machine. So here we see the domain. So this is showing us that this is a domain user, and we're able to get Blair's NTLM hash, plus Blair has a password that was used as well as a local password login. So this is really good information. This is information that we can use to continue passing around the network and exploiting targets. And this is something that you really, really should play around with the machines you already have access to. You have access to the .222 machine from the phishing campaign. Go ahead and get on there. See what kind of information you can dig up. Additionally, go ahead with playing around with some of the other modules that you have access to here and see what else you can learn about Starkiller and Empire. It's going to be really useful continuing through the network challenges as you have coming up. And it's a really good tool to understand in general for any opportunities you have to work inside of a network environment, or even just to tinker around a bit with Windows machines that you may access in a single lab environment as well. So until next time, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again soon.